there's like this trend going around on the Instagram reels is the new rich, right? I don't know if you've seen
Mm,
that, where like we
mm-hmm.
don't care about luxury stuff and homes. Like we live out the van, we travel, we're minimalistic and all that stuff. And obviously, I think it's cool because I basically lived that lifestyle, the minimalistic travel, not as many possessions lifestyle. But I have a question for you, and it kind of goes into the whole thing the last 2 years is there like a sinister motive behind pushing this idea of not owning anything and instead being a lifelong renter? Because when you're always renting or doing subscription based things, you're under the control of the people that actually own the shit, right? So all of a sudden you start mouthing off for doing something they don't like we've seen it with payment processors saying, okay, you can't do anything with us anymore. They did it to like the neo-Nazis, they did it to people like that.
Yeah.
But what happens, like Airbnb, like what happens if they say, hey, we saw you on Bold Perceptions and you said this and we don't agree with that, so you can't use our service anymore.
Dude,
It's really popular now, like sell all your shit, don't own anything, but then you have literally no control if it comes down to it.
I hadn't even thought about it in that exact like avenue. I've thought about them pushing it in the same regards as a whatever the hot diet is, veganism, climate change. Like it all kind of like ties together. It's the vehicle, no pun intended, of some of these like green hippie movements. My idea behind wanting to get into it was, if shit really hits the fan, which I could see happening, maybe not in my lifetime, but who knows, I always have at least a bed, a kitchen, and a form of movement. Although if then they stopped selling diesel to, like there's always a caveat that can shut it down. I always wanted to do it, but I've thought like rationally about, well, if shit like really goes south, I could always drive off into the woods and, obviously you need to get food somehow, but I have a means of leaving that's also a home. I haven't thought about that like sinister reasoning. If you saw my face as you said it, I totally see it.
There's like some memes going around, and they talk about all the time on, say, like 4chan is the World Economic Forum. They tweeted this a while ago. They did an article. It's like, in 2030, you will own nothing and you will be happy. It kind of goes into the point of, yeah, I do feel very happy living this free life. I have nothing tying me down. I can do whatever the fuck I want. You know what I mean? I do feel great. But then it's also like, oh, wait a second. I depend on the Uber. When I first get to a place, on Airbnb, I depend on my credit card. I
Yeah.
depend on, the banks. Like I depend on so many things. And I'm not like the 1950s, 60s American middle class was, where you had your home, you had everything paid off, you had land, you had guns, there's a trade-off between the freedom, but then also like the security where like if shit does hit the fan, or, it doesn't matter if someone cancels my Airbnb, I have a home. I don't give a fuck. I can say what I want. You know what I mean? But when they have all this power over me, and one day they say, hey, you said this bad word on Bold Perceptions. So that's why I'm starting to think, like, am I getting pushed in this direction because they want me to be ownerless with no ownership? So I'm totally under their control. I don't know.
No, you make a good point. And like the next step of my thinking with the van and like my lifestyle, because we share some similar ideas regarding what's going on right now. My next step then is I want to then buy land in Portugal, is what I've always thought. Maybe that shift I'm slightly changing my mind. This trip has been very interesting in a number of ways. It's been fun, but it's also, I wouldn't say shitty, but just eye-opening. Like there's been some good realizations made, and